Okay, so I think that just getting started here, I want to make sure that we're properly introducing this person on the screen here. Debbie Cortez is somebody I've known for a long time. And Debbie, why don't you go ahead and I'm never going to do it justice. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll get started and we'll start rolling with this.
Awesome. So hi, my name is Debbie Cortez. I have known Philip for a few years. It's been a while. We have the same last name, so we're not related, but everybody thinks that we are. I am actually an instructional officer here in San Elizario ISD. I've been here for about 22 years, and I have the pleasure of working with students from grades pre-K all the way to high school.
Awesome. Awesome. Really good. Cool. And if the people around you could just God, where are you in an airport? I mean, come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on real quick. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
No worries. We'll just keep it rolling, man. I mean, this is all good. Oh yeah, that is so good.
I got it. They're like, look at
Thank you.
They want to get me in the parking lot afterwards. Thanks a lot.
Good.
Look at, she's ready to throw it down. She's stretching. She's ready to
It's
throw
high
down
school
the
all over
lot.
again then.
It's high school all over again.
And speaking of high school, so you mentioned something while we were on our little pre-game talk, right?
Yes, yes.
About acceptance. I mean, you asked me about my daughter, Ava, and how she's liking middle school. And as a dad, that's like worrisome for me, right? Because gosh, that was a tough couple of years for me. I remember the middle school situation for me. I mean, it wasn't the best. So as a father, then you start to take those same worries in. And then you said, gosh, up until a few years ago, and I know you were joking, but worrying about what other people worrying about what other people think of you, right? So expand on that. Like, what do you mean? If you weren't joking, then expand on it.
So I've thought about it more and more watching my own children, especially my son, who's a freshman at Eastwood, and your daughter, who I love her. She inspires me. Ever since I met her, I just fell in love with her. And one of the things I noticed about them right off the bat is that they just are who they are. Your daughter just has a rhythm about her that's so unique, and she owns who she is. And when I saw that in her, I thought to myself, I have never had that. Maybe when I turned 48, maybe. So it's just been a few years, but I've never had that. Just being so comfortable in your skin. And I want to do this, and I'm gonna do this. And my son's the same way. My son is not an athlete. He's the opposite. He is the kid who, he looks like a skater and his hair is long. He looks like Jesus right now. And he's, nothing wrong with that, right? A carpenter of all people. So, for me, it's hard because I want him to have David Beckham's hair, and I want him to dress like, he's shopping in a place where all the models shop, and he's the polar opposite of that. And it's just so funny because I see who he is. I see who his friends are. And you talked about that acceptance. Like, my daughter's friends just, they love her and they roll with her vibe. And my son has the same thing going on, and they're happy. And I think that when I was their age, I just wanted to be accepted. And so I hung out with people that I probably normally wouldn't have hung out with 100%, but because that was what you do, and you want to be popular and you want to be accepted. And I just, I love who they are. And I think they are two old souls, and they have this concept about themselves that I wish everybody had, and it's unique.
Yeah.
It's unique.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, we talk about, I was joking about how it's just my mom is like, and Patty, maybe you, a handful of people. Like nobody's going to watch this, right? But yeah, I mean, you do take certain risks. This is certainly one of them. I mean, putting your name on something, no matter what it is, right? I mean, for you, it might be a presentation. It might be, the first day that you were actually even a teacher going in front of a class for the first time, and I remember that. I mean, they thought, I was just thinking, okay, please don't, just don't think I'm a fraud on day 1. Day 5, okay, you'll figure it out. I know you guys are smart.
Don't hurt me, and don't hurt me. Yeah,
eventually you guys will catch on. And but I think to a certain degree we all kind of go through that. And so I'm happy, just like you, I'm happy that her friends seemed to be really, really genuinely nice people. And it made me definitely feel better. Because that certainly wasn't what I saw at an elementary school here in El Paso when I encountered this little boy who you just knew he was just getting the you know what kicked out of him. And that was kind of the start for this book, the Happy Manifesto. And this little boy definitely reminded me of a kid that used to just get bullied for sport when I was growing up. And I do mention how I was tiny. I mean, in my mind's eye, even today, I'm still like this little dude. And I couldn't do anything about it, right? And sometimes it's easier to go with the crowd and laugh, but you're making it worse for somebody else than to actually go and stop it. And I do mention in that intro, maybe this is my way of making it up to that kid. And I hope I did. So let's talk a little bit about that, because in the last video, I talk about how, we want to take it to the next level, this better than good, this concept, that first rule. So explain to me then, how did you start with the book, period? Like, how did you come across it? What did you think? I mean, what was that?
So I remember 100% how I came across the book. I remember waking up early in the morning and you said, you need this. And I was like, okay, cool. So you had sent me a draft. Or I guess, I don't know, it wasn't like your official book, but you sent me some pages. And I remember reading it and thinking, yeah, I do need this. And I think kids need this. And so I remember just falling in love with it. And I remember just at that moment connecting it to, the topic of camp, or how can I impact students here in my district, right? How can I send this message, and how can I make them not only just read this or, have an experience with it, but feel it, but internalize it. That was super important for me. So, immediately just that message, like that boy you were talking about right now in your book, that you related that to him, and this was kind of your message to him. I remember reading that part and thinking to myself, not only can I internalize how this little boy was feeling, but just to offer that message of hope to somebody, and to have this, just how do you make kids happier? And I think our kids need that. And I really do. I mean, I can't say it more. You told me I needed it, and you were right. And you were right. So I that's when I said, what can I do to spread the word?
Well, I think, for clarification, I said, you need to help me with this or else. So
well, it might have been something like under like the
I think I might have bullied you into it. But I do remember I needed reviews. I needed validation. I think that's what it was. Okay. I needed reviews. Obviously, there's a business side to books and all that, right? But prior to the Happy Manifesto, it's just children's books. It's poetry, it's illustration, it's rhymes and things like that. And trust me when I tell you that is not easy. All right. I'm not belittling that. But going from that environment to now, here's this book about how to be happy. It's like, okay, well, who am I? Right. And I needed maybe to hear from other educators. So I remember I shared that with you, my cousin, Teresa, who's PhD at UTEP here in town in the educational program. So, I shared it with other educators, and I just wanted feedback. And so I was really happy to get it from you guys. And so I think I just sent you the intro, and then the rest of the book, I wanted to just make sure that I wasn't just too off the deep end, if it was just practical or realistic as far as some of these activities and things like that goes. And so we talk about activities in the book, and that better than good, grading the word good, and how we have to try and be better than good in everything that we do, which is like the first rule of happiness.
Right.
When did you start, after reading the book itself, when did you start to think, okay, wait a minute, all right, I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to take it to this, I'm going to take these steps here. What explain that?
So I'm going to go back really quickly on what you said right now, because going back to when you shared it with me, you did say, you did bully me, like, you have to read this or else, I'll find you in the parking lot. I was like, whatever, irony. So anyways, but I didn't see it like that. And I have to say, like, after I read it, I didn't think anything of it. You're a great writer, so I was more than happy to read anything you sent me. But I did see it a little more spiritual in the sense that I did need it. And the reason why is because when I do these programs with students, they're usually academic, right? I want them to do STEM and, just they're academic. But how often do we bring in the social emotional? And it was the first time that I realized what my programs were missing. And it was the social emotional. It was the getting to know you on a deeper level. So when you sent it to me, for me, honestly, I thought it was a sign. And not only was it something that I'm so grateful for, but it is something that changed the dynamic of my camps. So when you think about it like that, like read it, it's coming from a marketing place. It really wasn't. It was somebody telling you to better my programs here in my district so that can trickle down to our kids. So I want you to know that first.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think it's important that you see that, because that's exactly how it is. It's the truth, 100%.
And, unfortunately, it was written before the pandemic, right? And so I haven't really been able to, up until recently, actually go to some of these campuses as they've opened up and everything, and to actually see some of the change, see some of the activities. In previous books, I've seen kids put on plays, they've made songs and routines and stuff on a stage off of stuff that I've written before, which is pretty cool, but nothing along the lines of curriculum and educational component and a mentorship program. So when you talk about culture change, what exactly do you mean?
So just to give you an idea, and I'm just speaking for my district and the things that we've done. Which
is near and dear to my heart, by the way, that district. I mean, it's where I met Patty, obviously, and I used to work there. So yeah,
yes,
awesome
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And that makes it think even more special, giving back to where, to where you came from, over here. Well, work-wise. But anyways, I think when you think about these programs and events and things for kids, I've always wanted to embrace them as having experiences. Like literally, like I tell kids, you're not just coming to camp, you're coming to embrace an experience, something that you're gonna remember so far into the future. You're gonna be like, I remember when I was at that camp, and I remember that I had these high school mentors and they were with me and I had relationships with them. And those are the things that I want them to remember. It's not necessarily that I want them to learn to code in 10 days. I mean, that would be nice, don't get me wrong, but I want to pique their interest, right? But I do want them to walk away feeling so much better than they did when they entered our camp. And that is 100% what culture shift is. It's coming into an environment and walking out with this newfound sense of I belong, people care about me, I'm loved. Because at the end of the day, that's what life is all about, right? In any dynamic.
Yeah, in everything that we do. I mean, gosh, just being accepted in a locker room. I remember being the smallest kid in the locker room or on the baseball team, right? And it was all about performance and acceptance and things like that. So yeah, you're right. You could take that into any environment. And getting back to that legitimacy factor, I was always afraid. I was cool speaking to the 5-year-olds, man. But when I started talking to parents and teachers and stuff like that, it was like, oh, they're going to see right through me. I mean, but so on that note, then on that culture change and making kids feel a certain way. So what did you do first then? Was it, okay, I'm going to do a mentorship program, or is it going to be this broad camp, this thing? So what were your steps? What did you do?
So initially when I read it, I said, okay, asking the exact same question that you just did, how are you going to embed this strong piece into what you're already doing? So the first thing I did is I ordered several copies of your book and I handed them out to our high school kids. I went to the high school and I recruited students. I went to the National Honor Society team.
You bullied them into doing it?
I did. I just like, you know what, you're going to be here and that's it. You're going to read this book and that's that. I asked them because of course at that level, high school kids, they're what, like juniors and seniors, and they have a lot going on. They care about themselves.
And luckily it's like razor thin. So they probably saw it and they thought, oh God, all right.
So thank you for that. Thank you for it being razor thin. That was one of my selling points. I'm like, hey, it's 5 pages long. But not only did I do that, I spoke to them about our summer camp. And I told them that I'm here today to offer them an opportunity to grow spiritually, to grow academically, but also in leadership. I said, I need a leadership team, and it starts here. You guys are already leaders, but now you're going to take that concept, and you're going to work with students who are about 9 to about 12 years old. And so they kind of looked at me like, okay, what's going on? What have you been smoking? I'm not going to do that. But then I said, and so I went through your bullet points. I went through your 3 rules for happiness. And I said, every day you're here, and I know that you guys are better than good. And so we kind of went on that. And then I provided activities for them that had to do with your rules, right? So we had different challenges, and I want you guys to go into this, not only just for you, but for your team, right? So I'm not just good for myself, I'm good for everybody else, right? And so now it's the concept of me just not thinking of myself, me being happy because I helped you. And it's basically all here in your book, right? Just the way you have it laid out is beautiful. So I managed to get a big team. And not only did I get the NHS kids, I got the whole cross country team.
Oh,
which is really
right
cool.
on.
Yeah, I got them. I had them for 1 week. It was a 2-week camp. I had them for 1 week because they were in between practices. But they were, oh my God, it just fell into place. So I had them read the book, and it was so cute because I actually had one of the moms send me a picture, and it was her son. I don't know if I sent it to you. It was her son reading the book in the front seat. And he has it open, and he's reading it as he comes home from baseball practice. And it was about 2 days. Yeah, it was about 2 days after. Yeah, it was really cool. It was like 2 days after I presented to them. So the rule is that you had to read the book so that we could have conversations. I said, you're not, to be in this camp and to be a mentor for other students, you have to internalize things, and I'm not saying you have to love it or you have to like it, but you have to understand the concept of what I am asking you to bring to the table. And if you can do that, then you're perfect. So they did. They read it. We came back. We had more conversations about it. They're still in school, so I had to, have times here and there. I was able to pull them out of class a few times to do some more activities with them, a lot of team building with them, and just asking them, what do you want to get out of this? And it didn't really make sense. I don't think it made sense to them until they got there that day. The kids came in kind of like, like the last day of school, how they're just like, coming through the fence. Well, the kids came in, and then they realized, oh shoot, like I need to mentor these kids, because their goal, I told them, was we're mentoring through STEM, but at the end of these 2 weeks, I want you guys to create a relationship with them. And not only are you going to bond with them, you are going to find out just how much you impact other kids. So interestingly enough, they came in, and at the end of the 2 weeks, I had kids crying because they didn't want to leave their mentors. And I had adults crying because they didn't want to leave the kids. Yeah, it was such a beautiful, oh my God, Philip, it was such a beautiful experience. And it was sad because the last time I did it was 2019. The next year I was planning it, and the pandemic. Last year we did a virtual camp, which we did a mini version of this, but there's nothing like being face to face, So
no, it's almost like a retreat, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely it's a retreat, because it wasn't just that the kids would go. So let me just give you the concept of the dynamic of our camp. So basically they have workshops that they go to. They go to like a spiral workshop, and then an art workshop, and other workshops where they do
along the STEM curriculum, right?
Exactly. Okay. So we have instructors for that, but then we have all these high school kids, these mentors, our leadership team. So they have leadership classes. They start off the camp with team building and reminding the kids about the rules. Like, today we're going to be better than good by creating a tower, and you're going to help your team. By blah, 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 reminding them that you're not a one-man show, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, they would end the day off with something fun, like water balloon fights, but we would do it as a team. I'm not like throwing it at you. We're just having a good time. So that really created the bond between them. Plus, as the students traveled through their workshops, the mentors were assigned to groups. So whoever your mentors were, you had them for the 10 days. And they traveled with you. So when they were in engineering and they were creating these boats and using hot glue guns and burns everywhere, the mentors were right there next to them. And I'm going to send you a picture of that because it comes to my head. It's one of the most beautiful dynamics I've ever seen. It's kids all working at a table together. And and here's the thing: it's not just about doing the work together; it's about helping each other. And that's what I saw. They were coming to the rescue, and then the kids felt safe with them. And I'm going to tell you about one experience that during camp that was really hard. So I told the kids, I said, you're their mentors, but you're also the adults. If you see them getting out of hand, redirect them and so on, but do it lovingly, right? Don't slap them or anything
It
like
empowers
that.
them though, right?
It does, exactly. It
Yeah,
empowers them. It gives them that power.
yeah,
And these kids are all such good kids. Here in San Eli, we have amazing students. And so they have beautiful personalities. Well, we had a little girl who was having a hard time. She was one of our, I think she was in 3rd or 4th grade at the time, and she had some issues at home. And so one day, you know, she ran out of camp, and her mentor chased her. And luckily she was on the cross country team, so she could run after her really
I was going to ask you,
easily.
that was one of the cross country kids, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Fast. She could chase her for 17 miles, right? Well, it turned out this little girl had some, you know, issues where I think her mom had left them, or I don't know, something really hard in life. You know, when this little girl is, you know, telling my mentor to bleep off, and, you know, what do you do with those kinds of kids, you know? And so she came up to me and she was distraught. My mentor was distraught. She was shaking. Right. She didn't know what to do. And so I referred her back to why we're here. And I referred her back to the rules. And I said, you know, it's hard to help foster the dreams of others when we don't care about them. I said, do you care about her? She goes, I want to help her. And I said, I don't want to intervene here because I feel like it's your job. Like, you're the mentor, you're the leader. She can relate to you. I said, if I intervene, it's a camp thing. You know, I don't want to kick her out. I want her to be here. And so she's like, okay. And by the end of camp, they were embracing each other. This little girl knew that she was loved because they had formed that. So this mentor managed, you know, she's also just a great girl, right? But I think just having the culture there empowered her to do better by her.
And how did you pair them off? Did you pair off like boy with boy, girl with girl as far as mentors, or it was just a mixed bag?
No, you know what? It was a hodgepodge, because I had just really barely met these high school students. So I didn't know them really well. So it was just kind of like I was scheduling on a piece of paper and I just numbered them. So they had a combination of boys and girls within all classes. So everything was mixed up just because I wanted them to have that experience. So it was just by the grace of God that this little girl managed to connect with with my runner. I call her my runner. And she only did it once, and she was great after that. Because normally in camp, we have rules. You know, you do this, this, and this, and you're out. And I didn't want to do that. I said, you know what? I want to eliminate that rule. Our goal is to help. It's so easy to love kids who are easy to be loved. But the ones who are
that's a really good point. That's a good point. It leads me to a pretty important question here, because I mean, obviously, when it's year one and you want to launch this camp, you want your honor society type of kids to be those mentors, right? But like, did you ever give it any thought to say, wait a minute, hang on a second, let's flip this around. There are kids here who are either at risk for whatever reason. They've got SED, severe emotional disabilities, or something like that. And I used to work with the SED populations when I lived in San Francisco. So did you ever give it any thought? Let's flip this around and let's take kids who are deemed not so great, right? And let's empower them and see how this works, or maybe mix that up and throw some of the quote unquote at-risk kids into the mentorship program. Did you ever maybe think about that?
You know what, it's come to mind. And I love that you're saying that, because I thought, you know, we can't just, like I said earlier, it's really easy to love. The kids are easy to love. But also, you know, how can we change the dynamics for it? How can we flip the switch for some of these kids? And I think you're onto some things, but I want to have some life-changing experiences for other kids who I know have it in their, all kids have it, everybody has it in their heart to want to do better. And I think just by telling some of them, you know what, I think you would be a great mentor. And they're like, me, you know, I think even offering that would be a great start. So yeah, I think you're onto something really good.
I would personally, I would love to see something like that go down, because you know, again, this is all just so brand new to me. And it's interesting to see how people interpret your words. And in my case, a book, right? And what they do to take that ball and run with it. I love to see how it just kind of manifests. And so what you've been able to do has been pretty incredible. And have you now, I think you've told me here that it's being modeled, or now you're going to take it to another level now. Talk a little bit about that, because you took it and it's a community-wide thing here in San Elizario, but now you're taking it to a state conference. Speak a little bit about that.
So my goal, honestly, a few things. My goal is always to present to others, because I'm part of sorry, let me backtrack. STEM Scopes is our science curriculum, and they have monthly PLCs. And those PLCs are basically like the leaders of all of the state, like the me's in every single city, right? Every
And
single
so
district.
for our non-educators watching this, PLC stands
Oh,
for?
there you go. Sorry, I told the acronym part again. It's called it's a professional learning community.
Okay, because I would have made something up and it would not have been good.
And making me look bad. Thanks a lot, Philip. Thanks
cuss words involved.
Keep it clean, yo. All right, so you're right. It's a professional learning community, and basically we get together monthly and we talk about, what are you doing, and they give us significant information. Well, I presented my camp to them last year, and I showed them what I had done when it was still normal before COVID, and my 2019 camp where we had this concept laid down and it was beautiful and everything just turned out great. And everybody was just so blown away by what we were doing. I mean, we even gave away your book as door prizes because they were so just, I want to do this. But last year
didn't pay for it, by the way. They didn't pay for it. They're hijacking it. No, I'm just kidding.
Freebies. I was like, I got free books for everybody. It was like Oprah. Everybody gets a book, and I'm not going to pay for it.
And just real quick, and I got to say, I mean, if you want the first chapter, just go to my website and fill in a little form. I'm not spamming anybody. I'm literally giving it away. So yeah,
awesome,
go ahead.
Awesome. And it's totally worth it. So anyways, I thought, last year, since I had a virtual camp and we tried to apply the same, it was really hard last year. I just don't recommend that. So since we're starting off again this year, fresh, I thought, you know what, if I impacted, these leaders to the level that I did, let's take it to the state conference. Let's take it to the, and I want to do it at the Science State Conference, because that's where people go, to learn and to get ideas. And it's not just 100% science, it's STEM, it's camps, it's social emotional. So my goal, honestly, is to take a few of my workshop leaders with me so that we can present this to anybody and everybody who wants to hear about it. I'm even willing to give out our documents, our curriculum, our slide. We created slide decks for every workshop, and how we were able to impact them to the social emotional as well. And the good thing about what we do, Philip, is that we don't have a lot of money for camp. We don't. We really don't. Luckily, we're blessed in this district with the technologies that we have, and so on and so forth, so we can make it pop. But when it comes to, other districts who have more money and they can hire a lot of people, it changes. And not a lot of districts have that. We are blessed because we do this with minimal money. I take your book, we order it every year. My high school mentors get credit. They actually get volunteer credit. So for them, it's a win-win at the same time. And I want to show other districts that, you don't have to have a lot of money. Plus, you're basically mentoring through STEM, and you're creating this amazing culture with students. That if you can do that, So here we go.
Because
you should join us.
You're hitting on something really important here, and as I've said, San Elizario ISD is obviously close to my heart. I mean, on a personal level, it helped my life tremendously, right? But there is a lot to be said about the spirit and the mentality and the culture there, where when you do come from a smaller team, a smaller school district, in your case, or a community, then there's a serious advantages to being nimble, to being quick to fail. Not working, let's go back to go back to the drawing board and let's right the ship here and let's make these little adjustments. And we can do that on the fly, even in conference or mid presentation or something, right? Where you're a lot more there's more flexibility working in a district like San Elizario, as opposed to, say, a bigger district with a whole lot of people, a lot of moving parts that might be a little bit slower to adjust. It'll get there, but yeah, no, I think there's a lot to be said with that. So in some cases, you going to this state conference and you sharing and giving away material, and anybody who wants to listen, is that not the third rule being applied at a professional level? And will you remind everybody what the third rule is?
Fostering the dreams of others. I love that. Okay, yeah, I didn't even see that. I did not even see that. You see how it's just in me now, Philip? It's just in me now. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. You're right about that. I just really believe that, honestly, especially being in this profession, as leaders in education,
Yeah.
as the instructional team, is we have this power to impact others, but we have to know how to use it. And I think that if I can just give some tips and provide people everything that they need, then they too can turn around and foster the dreams of others as well. I love the verbiage on that. I wish I would have said it before you did. Damn it. I missed my moment on that.
You know what? Can't have it. And, and it's all being recorded. It's all good. It's can't have it. Totally mine. But yeah, no, I do appreciate, I was telling my wife, I need 100 of you. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously from a book standpoint and, marketing, things like that. These are the things that I'm ironically very uncomfortable with, because in my profession, in my real life, I'm digital marketing all the way for a Silicon Valley firm in San Francisco. And I could talk about that till the cows come home on one side, on that part of my life, right? But when it comes to this stuff, when I think it's closer to us, or in my case, me personally, it's really hard to promote. It's really hard to get in front of a camera. It's really hard to talk about you. So I definitely appreciate all the efforts that you've put in, because I think, gosh, I mean, from t-shirt making to presentations and camps and now the state level, it's been nothing but great for me. So in return, you're actually helping me foster my dream.
Awesome.
So I definitely thank you for that. Yeah, I thank you for that. And so before we break, because I know that, you're really busy, but we've talked about how we've applied this book on a professional level. And of course, in my world, I talk to a lot of educators. I talk to a lot of, I'm in a school environment, students, obviously, librarians, those are the waters I generally swim in. But as I talk to more and more other organizations, like parent organizations, how can this apply at home, or have you applied any of this at home at all?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So when your book came out, I gave it to my son immediately. And I said, you know what, before I give this to high school kids, I need you to read it.
He's like, he's a fraud.
Yeah, he's like, is he your cousin or something, Mom? Like, are we doing this for family? He didn't know. And he hates to read. I have two kids who just don't like to read, and it's horrible. But yeah, he was like, and my son will do whatever I ask him. He's just salt of the earth. So anyways, I gave it to him and he read it. And it took him a few days, and I said, what did you think? And he said, that was a really cool book, Mom. He goes, I like how he cusses in the book. And he goes, and I was like, well, that's who he is. It's awesome. But he said, what he said is that he appreciated, I can't remember how he said it. He appreciated your words, and that he wishes that there were more kids out there who had some of this, because he himself has been through some things. Because my son is all this, our kids, they have that empathy in them, that it's innate. And I said, do you think my high school kids would read this? Because I always run it by my son first. And if it's if he doesn't like it, like, I'm not even going to go over there. And he's like, oh, Mom, he goes, they would love it. And as I told him my concept, he's like, oh, okay, that's great. That's great. So in my home, that kind of, I don't know, it just kind of stayed afloat, because Ethan's already naturally like that, And so I always tell him, son, whenever you go somewhere, like they just finished taking STAR this week. They're taking the STAR test, I think, right now.
Right.
So whenever my daughter leaves the car, I always say, don't forget to be better than good today. And she goes like,
oh, that's nice. That's
great. Yeah. And my daughter's timid. She's shy. She's, the polar opposite of me. Just, we're polar opposites, and I don't understand what it is to be her. Exactly. I know. I just came in here like with a party. I'm always like that. People just hire me to entertain at their parties. But anyways, but I'm glad that she's like that, because it helps me to understand what it's like to be like that. I don't understand that kind of, thought process, but
I think life would be boring if they were like replicas of us, right? I mean,
exactly. It would be too much.
Totally boring. It'd be
it
boring.
Would be way too much.
Yeah. I mean, but I think obviously you and Roger, your husband, you guys have done a really good job with your kids. And you've done a wonderful job in your career as well. And I think it's because you are not afraid to use your kid as a sounding board, you know,
I will
as
exploit them
opposed
all day
to,
long if I need to.
yeah, as opposed to,
Yeah.
you know, how, you know, I know how it can be where, hey, I'm because I said so, you
Well,
know,
that only works sometimes. It's not like our parents. I don't know how they did it, but yeah.
right. I don't know how my mom did it with 5 boys, but,
Yeah,
but,
yeah. You need to buy her something. That poor woman. I know everybody tells you that.
8 boys when you count my best friends who are also brothers
Oh,
who also know too. I mean,
the
I've been
Rosalia. I know you're talking about.
thinking of good ideas to bring them into this environment, and it's like, oh man, it's gonna go south really quick. They pick on me. They pick on me, you know, and oh my God, yeah, I don't say anything negative about them at all.
Ever. I'm a
Usually the one
saint.
stirring the pot, you know. But yeah, no, you know, Debbie, I thank you so much. I really do. Thanks for joining me on this this new endeavor for me. I mean, it's exciting and scary at the same time, but if it's not exciting and if it's not scary, then it's not worth it, you know.
I love
And
that.
hopefully there's something cool waiting on the other side of whatever we do every day, no matter what that is. And certainly I've never forgotten those rules, and I kind of try and implement them and instill those in my own kids who are not always like me, but and they're also taking that test this week too. So just want to, you know, before we wrap it, just thanks so much. I mean, I really appreciate all that you've done to help with this project. As I said before, you're fostering somebody else's dream, mine, by spreading it out and giving it and paying it forward to other people. And I hope they do the same thing, and it just keeps on going, man.
Absolutely. But I want to thank you also for fostering my dream, because you made my camp come to life. Before it was just a camp, and now it's an experience. It's a spiritual experience. You know, we walk away so much better than they did when they walked in. So you keep doing you. You keep writing these amazing books and having these great messages, and keep making them about this small, so that my high school kids will keep reading. But
Yeah.
you know, you have.
I just finished. I just finished one more kid's book. It just went through a grueling editing process. Hopefully, I'll interview my editor John. He's in New York on a future, you know, on a future video here on this channel. And now it's time to start maybe focusing on the happy, you know, taking happy to another level. So we'll see.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Well, you need to let me know, because I would love to read it. And of course, we just want to grow this. We want to grow this program. So that's something that I still want us to work on. You know, let's continue to take it to the next level. But you know, honestly, like, God gave you such a beautiful gift, and I'm so glad you're using it for the greater good. And I think also fatherhood really changes things for us sometimes. And I can see how these messages just grow inside of you. And I know that the first thing you think about are your babies. So I love that.
Well,
I love that.
If I don't, they're totally going to run all over me. I mean,
they are going to run all over you. They're going to steal the car and your credit cards. So yeah.
No.
Just wait for it all.
Especially the little one. Especially the little one. You know, yeah, they got me.
They're amazing. Me. Yeah, you and Patty have done an amazing job with them. They're great kids. So kudos to you guys.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. Okay.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Right. Bye now.
Bye.
Well, there you go. I mean, what can you say, right? I mean, she's a firecracker. She's got a lot to say. She's somebody who, if you've read the book, and if you haven't, that third rule is really about fostering the dreams of others. And you know, we're only as good as the person next to us, and we get what we give, right? And so, you know, I'm still blown away, you know, when I hear a lot of the things that she has to say about the book and about how she's implemented it into her professional and her personal life as well. So that's really cool. I mean, trust me, that wasn't the goal. I don't know what goal I had when I wrote it. I mean, it was going to be a blog post, and it just kept going, and it's just manifested from there. I mean, that's why it's called the Happy Manifesto, because you can't really define happy for other people, right? But we can try and do our best to make the environments that we happen to be in better, especially for these kids, especially for these students. And I'm really happy that she was able to share all that with us today. So more to come, more videos to come. That's all about what this channel is going to be about, right? It's not just my stories, it's other people's. and how they're applying either the rules or just what they're doing that's awesome in their own rights and creative and sharing good stuff. All right. Cool deal. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will see you on the next video.